My name is Julia Joy, and this is the very first time that I am going to attempt to tell my story about my journey with psychosis and depersonalization and derealization that I've been navigating for the last 16 months. I have a lot of energy running through my body right now at the thought of telling my story, but I feel like it's really important, and it's mainly just for me. But if you're watching this, that means I was able to post it, which will be a huge accomplishment. And I hope that my story somehow helps you on your journey, whether that's validation or understanding a loved one who has been through similar things. So I'm just gonna try and go through it. I've never told this story before, bits and pieces to family and therapists, but I've never tried to just go through what happened to me. I might clear my throat a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of energy moving through me, and one of the ways I clear energy is coughing. So excuse me for that. In November 2023, I was heavily abusing cannabis, and I developed this anxious tic where I would swallow air and then burp it back up all day, every day. And it was completely consuming. It was one of the most challenging things I've ever faced, and smoking made it worse, but it didn't matter. I just kept smoking, kept taking edibles because I was so dependent on cannabis just to exist in this world. And I knew that I needed to quit cannabis, but it was so hard. I was also using a lot of psychedelics at the time, mostly in a really beautiful, sacred, ceremonial way, but then more in a recreational way as well. In January 2024, I did LSD multiple times. I did MDMA multiple times. I did high doses of psilocybin multiple times. And I was smoking cannabis all day, every day, and taking edibles in the evenings. So I was in an altered state more than I was in a sober state. And I was also chasing those peak experiences that can be so profound and beautiful on psychedelics, but damaging when there is little to no integration in between. On January 26, 2024, I took a high dose of LSD, followed by MDMA, followed by some bong hits of cannabis. And I went into a substance-induced psychosis. And I'd like to share my story of how that happened and what I experienced. I had a really beautiful day with friends celebrating a birthday. And I went into my bathroom, and my friend was in my bathtub. And I'm only gonna share my part of this story for her privacy of the people that are involved, and also I can only speak to my interpretation of what happened. So I'm gonna leave out some details and just give you what I can. I stepped into my bathroom. I was obviously in a very altered state, but I was feeling really good, really happy, really excited. And I had been really loving this song. It's called Enjoy the Silence by Depeche Mode. And so I put on that song, and I was going to join my friend in the bathtub. And because I had selected the song just on Spotify, the song kept repeating, looping. And so I think it was like the third time that the song had looped. And I said to my friend, do you remember that moment in the movie Inception where they hear the song and the song is supposed to trigger them to wake up? And it was like that. Right when I said that, I completely left my body. It was the strangest physical sensation I've ever experienced. And I interpret it as death. I interpret it as it was my time to go and that I was leaving my physical body. So I left my body and I went to this place that I would describe as very neutral. It was not like how you hear in near-death experiences, how you feel love. It wasn't like I went to some hell realm where it was scary, but it was just, there was no feeling there. Kind of like limbo. And Julia, the personality of who I am as a human, who I've known myself to be this whole life, disappeared. And that was really, really scary. And in that moment, I stopped using words for communication and I started telepathically communicating with a being. And I said, am I dying? And I felt like this inner knowing that it was my time to go. And that if I entered the bathtub, that is how I would transition. That the water would help me die. And even though I was scared and I felt so odd, I chose to get in the bathtub. And when I got in the bathtub, I continued telepathically communicating with, I don't want to put words to it because people have so many attachments and ideas to words that you use. So I'm just going to say I was communicating with another. There was a question and answer form of communication, but it was going on in my mind. And in that moment, I believed, because I had been so entrenched in spirituality and the spiritual world and, like all the messaging that happens with that, I believed that this being was trying to bring me to the fifth dimension. And I didn't want to go, but I was asking questions about it. Will my husband be there? Does my mom know? What about my dog? I'm not ready to go. I love my life as Julie. I love my life on earth. I feel like I'm just getting started. And this being would answer my questions. And I don't remember a lot of it, but I know that I was in communication back and forth. And there was this visceral feeling. It's so hard to describe in words because all of this was just a feeling and a knowing that my bathroom was the only place that existed. That if I opened my bathroom door, it would literally be like opening a door and it would just have been stars and planets and universe. Like my bathroom was the only place, turned into like a spaceship almost. Like it was the only place that existed. And it was a really disturbing feeling, a really scary feeling. It felt like everything beyond the bathroom wasn't real, that it was made up. And I felt like if I chose to get out of the bathtub, then I would stay in the third dimension. That was like my deal. Like, do you want to go to a different dimension, or do you want to stay here? I felt a sensation of going through a life review. I had also been very obsessed with near-death experiences. So all this information that's coming through, I think, was my brain's way of trying to understand what was happening. And I kept repeating, I don't understand what's happening to me. I don't understand what's happening to me. And the song that had triggered all of this was still repeating. It was still playing. And the song, it goes, all I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm. And to me, I interpreted that as, it's okay, you're safe to die. And stop trying to use words because it cuts off the telepathy. It cuts off our communication. I had previously, like a week or 2 weeks beforehand, I had witnessed many people partake in a 5-MeO DMT ceremony. And so in that moment, I thought, oh my God, did I smoke Bufo 2 weeks ago and I don't remember? And am I in a Bufo hallucination right now? Is my life as Julia a psychedelic hallucination that I am waking up from? Have I been dreaming this life, and am I about to wake up on the floor of someone's living room after, inhaling a psychedelic, or in a different dimension with, aliens? Am I gonna just go into nothingness, into blackness? And I kept saying over and over again, I don't remember blowing out the smoke. I don't remember blowing out the smoke. I was very confused. I was in psychosis. I was in the middle of my psyche being fractured. I didn't know what was real and what wasn't, and I was trying to grasp at anything to understand what was happening to me. I was then embraced by the friend that I was in the bathtub with, and when I was embracing her, I thought that I was inside of a womb and that I was about to be reincarnated through, a vaginal canal, and I would see the white light and I would be born into another body. And I said, please don't make me go into a baby body and start this again and I won't remember. I said, please, I don't want to start again. I want to stay Julia. And then I had this experience where I saw all of my friends' bodies, and my spirit, whatever consciousness you want to say, went into every single one of my closest 5 friends' bodies. And this voice was asking, do you want to come back as them? Do you want to come back as them? Do you want to come back as this person? And every body that I went into, I said, no, that's not right. I want to go back into Julia's body. I love being Julia. I love her life. Please let me go back into my own body. At that point, and there's a lot more details, but just gonna leave it at that. At that point, I was taken out of the bath. And I thought, oh, okay, perfect, much better. I'll go die in my bed. And so I came out of the bath. I was taken out of the bath and brought outside, and there was a birthday party happening, and so I sat with my friends and I could not speak. There was like this thing in my brain that just cut off communication through words. And when I walked out to my living room, there was this big banner that said happy birthday. And I thought, see, it's my birthday. I'm being born. I'm dying. So I laid in bed. And when I laid in bed, I continued to have a psychedelic experience that I don't remember a lot of, but I remember feeling really joyful. I remember feeling like I did it. I cheated death. I chose to stay Julia, and I'm gonna be okay, and I'm gonna live, and I'm getting the second chance at life. It was almost this like manic, joyful state of like, I did it. I answered, that I wanted to stay here, and they are letting me stay here. So I fell asleep. I woke up the next morning, and I was in this very odd, manically joyful state. And I told my friends, whoa, I had the trippiest time last night. Whoa, psychedelics. I've told a bunch of trip reports before. So this just kind of added into like that, it treated it like it was a trip report. And there were these gold confetti, these little circular gold confettis all over the ground from the birthday party. And those little gold confettis, to this day, I found one today, have reminded me of that night and have been really, really triggering and scary. The song that was playing has been really, really triggering and scary. Millions of triggers I've been navigating from that night. But the next day, I took one bong hit of cannabis, which is very normal. I was a daily smoker for over a decade. And this one hit of cannabis was my last hit I took 16 months ago. I had the exact same feeling of leaving my body. It was like a reactivation of my experience. Except this time I didn't go somewhere neutral. I went somewhere very terrifying. And in that moment, I had the thought that I was Earth, I was the planet, and that I was experiencing myself die. That our planet was dying and I was part of the planet. And I got really hot. And I thought, oh my God, climate change, and I'm burning alive, and I am Earth, and Earth is dying, and I'm experiencing myself die. And I went into this state of psychosis that lasted for about 4 days straight. I didn't know, what was real. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who my husband was. I didn't know who my dog was. I didn't know where I was. I was not okay. And gradually, I came back, into knowing who I was and where I was. And after about 4 days, I was able to get a grip on reality. But since that moment, I have developed something called depersonalization and derealization. And depersonalization and derealization is a very physical sensation. It's all 5 senses. It is your total reality, not feeling real. And it's the sensation like you're viewing your life like you're in a dream. Like I would look at my hands and my hands didn't look like my hands. It feels like I still get waves of it 16 months later. It feels like you're wearing virtual reality goggles and you're witnessing yourself live your life. So instead of being like point of view, it's like you're behind yourself, like you're looking at yourself through a screen. Live your life and do things like cook or walk your dog or have conversations with people. It is the most disturbing thing I have ever experienced in my entire life. And I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. When I developed DPDR, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that it had a name. I just thought that I had lost my mind. And that I was never going to be the same again. And I haven't been the same. I don't know if I'll ever be the same again. These kind of experiences change you on a cellular level. Through time, through sobriety, through therapy, through friends and family and help, I am finally feeling a lot better most of the time. It's a huge step for me to be able to even tell this story and be able to speak it out loud. I never thought I would be able to speak this story out loud or say it to anyone. So just the fact that I'm able to semi-coherently be able to express it is a really big step for me. And I feel really proud of myself in this moment for sharing my story. I am so thankful for my friends and my family that have helped me through these last 16 months. I'm really proud of myself that I chose not to medicate myself, because that's what psychiatrists wanted to do when I told them how I was feeling. They wanted to medicate me, and I chose not to do that because I never want to wean off of anything ever again. Cutting out cannabis and going through withdrawals, severe withdrawals for 5-6 months was one of the most challenging and worst things I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I never wanted to wean off of anything again, so I opted out of taking medication. There's nothing wrong with choosing to take medication. I just knew that it wasn't right for me. 16 months later, I am joyfully sober. It's normal. It feels good. I prefer it. I miss psychedelics. I miss the healing that they gave me. But I got the message and I chose to hang up the phone. And it's been the wildest grieving process, because the person who I was before I entered that bathroom is completely different than the person I am now. And I miss her. I miss her a lot. It was a total annihilation of who I was. And I've had to rebuild myself from the ground up. And it's been excruciating and isolating and terrifying. At first, I would have really bad reactivations and flashbacks very often throughout the day. But now, most days I'm okay. I still get waves of it, but I know what it is now and I know how to navigate it. And the best way that I've found to navigate DPDR is to leave my thinking alone and to keep participating in life and to let my thoughts flow and change naturally on their own. And that seems to be the best, because the more thinking I put into it, the more analyzing, the more existential, the more I try to figure it out through here, the worse it gets. So the best things that have supported me have been dance, have been community, have been sharing my story, and have been receiving support from friends and family. There's so much more, but I feel complete in this moment as far as this share goes. Thank you for listening to my story. It really helps me to be seen, to be witnessed. And it's really helpful for me to just talk about it. I love you so much. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for seeing me.